Welcome back to the show. Now, celebrating World Autism Awareness Day today, a number of events are being organised around the country to mark the initiative.
Joining us now to discuss are Brian Murnane, CEO of Irish Autism Action, and mum Ali McDonnell, whose 6-year-old son is living with autism. You're both very welcome to the programme. And of course, Brian, you have a son who suffers from autism as well, or lives with autism as well. Ali, tell us about Harry and how you first knew that something wasn't quite the way it should have been.
I kind of noticed, well, see, Harry reached all his milestones. He spoke early. There was no signs really then, but when he started going through Montessori, then when he went into school, I started noticing there was big issues there. His just behaviour, really. Yeah. And, you know, he wasn't able to learn. That was really it. It was just more behaviour.
Yes.
And then I noticed when he, after junior infants, we went on holiday, and my sister said, I think you need to get him assessed.
Because, Ali, I know you well from your modelling time and your modelling days, and you'd often said to me how it was a very dark time for you because you didn't quite know what to do with the information. It was kind of, OK, here's the diagnosis, but where do I go from here?
I still feel like that.
Do you?
Yeah, I still feel like that. I mean, in school, it's hard for him, even though I've given them all the information that they need. His diagnosis, he also has ADHD.
That's right, yeah.
And dyslexia. So, you know, in school is just so hard for him. And I'd like to get him into a reading school, but then the ADHD is holding him back with that. And I still find it very hard, you know, trying to get help. You know.
And Brian, you would have been in this situation a number of years before Ali, and you actually took the matters into your own hands and set up your own school.
Yes, our son Luke was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2.5, which we were happy at the time we got to the problem early.
Yes.
But when we went to get an appropriate school for him, we couldn't get one. There were a number of schools, generally known as ABA schools at the time, that catered to the more severe autistic children. The only problem with those is they were very limited and they had 3- and 4-year waiting lists. So essentially a group of us got together and we set up our own. And we ran it and funded it independently.
Wow, yeah, and subsequently been subsumed, taken over and subsumed into another school, I believe, is that right? Or
yeah, that group of schools were all set up on a pilot basis, all of the others of which were funded by the state. Eventually the state acknowledged them and permanently recognised them, and at that time, yes, they merged with another existing school.
OK, let's take a look, if we can, at how you might recognise or get a hint that your child may be suffering from this condition. We'll go to our first one here, which is to do early signs of autism. So what should we be looking out for, Ali?
Well, for me, what I was just really behaviour, you know, social situations. I mean, you know, he finds it really hard to deal with. There's also, you know.
You didn't have any of the signs we have on the screen here. No big smiles, no back and forth sharing of sounds. These were all present and fine in Harry.
Everything was fine.
But I suppose this brings us to the point that autism is different for every single child.
Yeah, it's a very broad spectrum.
Because we had spoken before, and obviously, you know, communication is a huge part of, I suppose, Harry and what he can and can't do. Yeah. Maybe you'd explain that a little bit more, because there, as you said, there's different facets.
Yeah, no, there is. Like, I mean, I never had, like, really any of those issues with him. You know, he's overly confident. And I know that sounds, you know, that's not typical. He's overly confident. He's a very happy child, but you know, it's the meltdowns. Like, he can't understand why he can't be first in the queue.
Okay.
You know, things like this. You know, if you know, that would be a small thing for somebody else is a major drama for Harry.
Okay. Yeah. And you have other children as well.
I have 4 kids, yeah.
So how does that work in the family dynamic at home then?
It can be difficult, and it's hard because I have 2 teenagers, and you know what teenagers are like. But Harry would consume me and my time. I've got a small baby as well, but the baby actually was a huge calming effect on Harry. He adores her. Yeah. So my next step is what I really want to get for him is an MCC dog, my canine companion. Oh, so I'm working towards getting one of those dogs. I saw what the baby did, and if he had that, I mean, you know, and that's all he needs.
Yeah. Brian, talking about the communication side of things, Ali referenced it there in terms of, you know, needing to be top of the queue, and I suppose there are other things though as well. What sort of communications issues do children suffering with autism, what can you expect to see or expect not to see?
Well, on the list of symptoms you showed earlier, one of the key things that emerges is the loss of language. It's one of the real bell-ringing symptoms of somebody with autism. You develop a couple of languages, and instead of the progression being like that, it goes backwards. So that's an absolute loss of language. Probably 60% of children with autism are not verbal.
Yeah, that's right.
At all, so they'll never develop expressive language. However, those that do are often good with receptive language. My son doesn't speak, but he understands everything we say, for instance. But in terms of him being able to communicate, that has to be done through sign language or through picture exchange or various other strategies.
Yeah.
Brian, obviously, you know, we all know someone with the condition, and my own family as well. I think the early signs are the important part, so that families and parents especially can get the diagnosis. So we have another graphic for the early signs of autism, and in terms of that, it's no big smiles, it's kind of no back and forth or sharing of sounds, you know, things like that. So is that the important crux, to find it early on?
Like any problem, the longer you leave it, the worse it becomes, and autism is an outstanding example of that. So early intervention is critical. The problem is we're not good enough in this country in terms of diagnosing early. There was some press during the week, in fact, about a Midlands region. One of the TDs in the Midlands said that the HSE waiting list for diagnosis for autism is over 7,000 people as we speak.
My word.
And these people will be on that waiting list for probably 18 months.
So it really takes that long, nearly.
With a condition where every second counts, that's just very wrong.
It's very wrong.
It could be a long process as well.
Yeah, I understand.
One of the things that fascinated me when I heard this item was coming up was how, despite the fact you might think you've read a lot and you know would know a bit about a few things, I didn't know how one should interact with somebody who has autism. I didn't know what the correct approach to it is. And then you have the autism friendly, so you have a series of kind of, I suppose, pointers to help people in their interaction with people with autism. We might go through those here on the graphic now.
Actually.
The first one you said is the focus on ability. Talk to me about that.
Well, that's it. I mean, when society is confronted with something that it doesn't understand, it likes labels. It's a mechanism for understanding. Yes. We get that. It's autism. It's communication. It's interaction. It's repetitive behaviours. But there's as much individuality within autism as there is outside of autism.
Yes.
Somebody who's self-aware and articulate with autism will tell you, I'm an individual. I don't like the label.
Yeah.
Of course.
So it's about understanding and focusing on what people are good at.
Indeed.
When you're flying through Friendly, which it is, FRIENDLY, and reducing the stigma, including everyone, that is key, I would imagine. Also educating yourself about the autism spectrum disorder. And what I thought is quite interesting is numbers. 1 in 100 people with autism.
Somewhere on the spectrum, yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. In fact, that statistic is a little dated now. They're now saying 1 in 68.
Wow.
Which says that there are 70-odd thousand in Ireland alone.
Indeed. And if people want to get more information on how they can understand the symptoms better, do you have a website people can go to?
AutismIreland.ie.
Very good. And you have an event coming up then towards the end of the month. Tell us about that.
Indeed we do. Well, this is World Autism Awareness Month, not just day.
Yeah.
We've expanded what the UN started 10 years ago when they designated this as the day. We're using the opportunity to launch our new campaign.
Fantastic.
As Ali said, as children grow up, the journey and the challenge and the supports needed evolve. So our strategy needs to evolve to help support them. So we've distilled that into the document. We also have what's known as Blue Nose Day, which is on April 27th.
Great.
So giving that a shameless plug.
No, that's absolutely fine.
I'm going to show everybody what a blue nose looks like. There it is. If you'd like to make a fool of yourselves and help raise awareness and funding for the work we do, 27th of April, we really appreciate your support.
That really is
We appreciate you coming into this morning as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ali. Thank you for taking the time.
Thank you.